All right, it's that time of year again. We have Flesh and Blood, Banned and Restricted, or Banned and Suspended announcement, plus some other stuff that I didn't foresee coming. There was like an article about errata, like functional errata and some non-functional errata. We're going to talk about all of that right now. This is going to be a lot of my first impressions here. I did skim through both documents. They're fairly long, so we got a lot to talk about here. So we're just going to cut the preamble. Let's dive right in. As always, if you want to support the channel, I have a Patreon. I have channel memberships down below. I have an online store with merch and all that kind of stuff. Those are great ways to support me. But without further ado, let's go over the banned and suspended announcements. Here we have the, we're just going to scroll on down here to errata bulletin and suspended banned, or scheduled banned and suspended announcement by Monsieur James White. Jean Blanche. Okay, anyway, we're just gonna go. Classic Constructed. The following changes to Classic Constructed are effective from October 7th. Pulse of Eisenloft is banned. That is a really interesting one because Pulse of Eisenloft is not one of the cards that people have been talking about. You see people talk about, like, I don't know, Crown of Seeds, Belittle, Azalea. Those are the cards that people really want banned. If you can't take a joke, then stay out of the kitchen, I guess. Anyway, yes, Pulse of Eisenloft, very, very interesting. We also say Classic Constructed changes. We have just concluded what most considered a compelling and enjoyable national championship season. I agree, it was really fun to watch. Widely celebrated for its diverse metagame where many heroes were viable. While this was mostly true, with 10 of the top 16 heroes legal for Classic Constructed winning at least one national champ, shown in the table below. So we have Oldhim. Oldhim won a lot, right? We saw Oldhim win a lot. We saw Briar win a lot as well, and Icelander. A lot of folks consider Oldhim and Icelander among the top, which is funny because you don't hear a lot of Briar talk. I think it's just because Oldhim and Icelander tend to lead to more frustrating games, I would say. We also have Viserai winning a decent amount, and then Fi only winning two. Lexi, yo, Taiwan. Yeah. Shout out to the Lexi player there. We have Dash, Bravo, Reyna from Malaysia, which is awesome, and Dromai from Norway. Let's go Norway. I said that weird, Norway. I know how to say Norway. So yeah, there is a decent amount, decent spread, but there's a lot of Oldhim, a lot of big old chunky boy here, bringing in the heat, especially in some pretty major areas, including New Zealand and Kenyatta. Although we consider the national champs metagame to generally be quite healthy, the win rate data we have found from across the season, including the Calling Charlotte and the battle-hardened Minneapolis, indicates that Oldhim was slightly too favorable, or had too many slightly favorable matchups, and importantly, that his win rate improved as the season progressed and deck list and player knowledge optimized. Yeah, that's true. Banning Pulse of Eisenloft after it's been a tournament staple for over a year isn't about trying to fundamentally reshape the format. It's about nudging it slightly, a little nudge, to curb a couple of percentage points off of Oldhim's win rates, to narrow the small but consistent advantage Oldhim appears to have against combat-based decks. Yeah, that's true. Pulse of Eisenloft may not be the most iconic card in Oldhim decks, and its status as a singleton legendary card assures it does not show up as often as other cards. However, Oldhim's highest output offensive turns often involve Pulse of Eisenloft powering up Oaken Old and Oldhim's ability to play through multiple cycles of the deck. And it allows Pulse to be pitched for his hero ability several times throughout the game. The effective 2-for-1 Pulse offers in conjunction with Oldhim's hero ability is often outcome defining, even if the outcome takes many turns after Pulse has been pitched to manifest. It's a really interesting choice, and I honestly respect him for it. It's like not a spicy choice, right? It's not like Crown of Seeds. But it's a choice that makes sense based on what they said. I'm very curious to see if it actually shaves off, how much percentage-wise it shaves off Oldhim's win rate. Philosophy of using the banned and restricted list for Classic Constructed. They talk about this for both of them, like for Blitz and CC, like the philosophy behind it. We'll go over that too. Our philosophy towards using the banned and suspended list is threefold. Sometimes we need to use it to address card interactions that are degenerate or create negative play experiences. Sometimes it's because we messed up. Sometimes it's to actively manage the format. Yeah, I honestly love this part. Sometimes it's because we messed up. The ownership, well, I said respectable about the ban here, but I really respect this a lot. Like, owning up to your mistakes is really important, just in life in general. Banning Pulse of Eisenloft is about actively managing the classic constructed format. Flesh and Blood has a moderate frequency of product releases, typically with 3 new major booster sets releasing each year. Yeah, it's only 3 compared to like other card games which have a lot more than 3. Giving players time to explore and enjoy each format is something we think is important. I do as well. However, it does not mean that metagames can reach a state of optimization well before the next product release is on the horizon. This is a significant reason why active format management is important for Flesh and Blood. I agree. And particularly when an event of the magnitude of World Champs sits between where we are at and the next product release. I also agree. Yeah, you really don't want your formats to get stale in a game that, 1, doesn't rotate, and 2, has like only a couple releases a year. Yeah. As always, our primary goal with any ban and suspend decision is to provide our player base with the most enjoyable version of Flesh and Blood as possible in all aspects of the game. We are always listening to feedback, and yada, yada, yada. Here we have some more about Blitz. Okay, Blitz is the spicy one. Blitz is the spicy one. We got the Pulse of Eisenloft, you know, banned from CC to kind of give a little kick to Oldham's Keister here. Not a huge kick, a little baby kick. But Blitz, yeah. Okay. The following changes are effective as of October 7th, 2022. Bloodsheath Skeleton is just banned now. Yep, it's banned. Mask of the Pouncing Lynx is banned, likely due to Spring Tidings. Stormstriders is suspended until the next banned and suspended announcement. That's a really spicy one there. Wizard just tends to be very, very good in Blitz. Sonata moves from suspended to legal. So basically what they're doing is they are letting you play with Sonata and getting rid of Bloodsheath Skeleton. So they're basically banning what makes the degeneracy possible while bringing back a card that is pretty fair without it, to be honest. Like, Sonata for like 2 or like 1, it's not that big, but having like a big wombo combo with it is, well, it's a game, it's a playstyle. All right, Blitz changes. The Blitz format with its low life young heroes is much more sensitive than Classic constructed to cards that start the game in play and create easy to access bursts of virtual or actual card advantage. The output generated by these types of start and play cards is often the root of causing games ending faster than we believe makes for a good game experience. The most common cards that fall in this category are equipment that are free to activate and generally the equivalent of a card of more worth and value. Hardened Crossstrap is an example of such a card and is already banned for this reason. Yeah. That makes sense. It makes sense why they banned the Sheath and bringing back the Sonata Arcanix. Because, like, come on, if Hardened Crossstrap is banned and Bloodsheath Skeleton is just chilling around, which is just arguably way more busted, because it also blocks, so you can block, and then also do your busted shenanigans. I mean, Hardened Crossstrap is a little bit more ubiquitous because you can run it in any deck. Anyway, not getting into it that much. Let's talk about why they banned it specifically. Skeleton is a card with which too frequently generates the equivalent of 4 resources in combination with Vexing Quill Hand. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you can just crack the Quill Hand for some rune chants and then go off. And that's the ground 4, combined with other efficient rune chant creators that exist and are yet to come. Dynasty. The ceiling on Bloodsheath Skeleton is too easy to reach. Skeleton being legal has forced Sonata Arcanix to remain suspended for the past 6 months. By removing Skeleton from Blitz, we're happy to welcome Sonata Arcanix back to the format. Sweet. I'm happy to play around with Sonata Arcanix in my in Runeblade decks. Sonata and Briar? I don't know. Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. While equipment that gain resources or increase power are virtual card advantage, Mask of the Pouncing Lynx simply provides easy access to literal card advantage. When Mask of the Pouncing Lynx triggers, it typically converts to 5 damage or 25% of your opponent's life total, which is too much damage for too little cost from a card that starts in play. Also, you can enable some busted, like OTK stuff with Benji. I'm going to grab the specialization. Stormstriders. We got 2 paragraphs on Stormstriders. While there has been little public play outside of armory events for Blitz since our last banned and suspended update, Existing internal data and data from Skirmish Season 5 has begun to point towards an increasing gulf in performance between the Wizard class and the rest of the Blitz heroes. Like I said earlier, Wizard's pretty good in Blitz. You can pump out a lot of damage and just kind of gib someone out of nowhere. It's like the sniper, in my opinion. Like, if you're going to break it down into, like, FPS archetypes, like, Wizard's like a sniper, right? They're kind of squishy, right? If you can get up to them, it could be really hard. But if they can, like, sometimes they can just kill you before you have a chance to do anything. Which is, well, it leads to unfun situations. Stormstrider's activated ability goes even further than the virtual card advantage of the other equipment discussed in the article. It often provides wizards the equivalent of an entire extra turn, by way of deploying their entire turn cycle worth of cards from hand to end the game. There's no opportunity cost to having no cards left in hand to defend yourself when Stormstriders kill the opponent at instant speed. Yeah, I mean, like, you can just kill them while lethal is on the stack, basically, right? I've had this happen so many times playing against Wizard, where they're like, I'm like, all right, I'm attacking you. If this attack goes through, you're gonna die, right? And then they're just like, okay. And then they, spin the wheels for 10 minutes, and then you die because they Stormstridered and they kind of comboed off. It's what Wizard does. Well, at least what Kano does. Icelander can do it too, but still. Despite this fact, Stormstriders is an iconic part of the Wizard toolkit, and one that we don't necessarily want to say goodbye to forever. Internal testing leads us to believe that both Icelander and Kano remain viable and strong heroes in the absence of Stormstriders. It's going to be tough for Kano, man. And we'd like the opportunity to see what our best and brightest playtesters or players do with a Blitz format without Stormstriders. For this reason, we are suspending it at least until the next banned and suspended announcement. Yeah. Philosophy of using the banned and restricted for Blitz. As we stated in the FAB 2.0 announcement earlier this year, our philosophy is to use the banned and suspended list liberally for the Blitz format to flex cards in and out of play. By the way, this is all super interesting because Blitz is going to be a format at Worlds. So this is going to shake up a lot of that Worlds play. Like, this is really a big deal. Not just for, like, skirmishes or whatever, because this is going to be at Worlds. Our philosophy is to use it liberally. This is critical due to the more explosive nature of the format and to ensure that we have design space necessary to explore ideas in the classic constructed format that simply may not translate well into Blitz. I like this. I like that they're still making cards specifically for classic constructed that may not translate well into Blitz, but they're aware of this and are going to, liberally use the banned and restricted list for this, which is good. In addition, as developers and designers, we continue to learn more about how to create the best play experiences within the Blitz format. This leads us to constantly reevaluate all cards, even those which may have be regarded as format staples, and ask the question, is the presence of this card actually making for a better game? Much like in Classic Constructed, our primary focus for our banned and suspended decisions in Blitz is always creating the most enjoyable format, and they welcome feedback. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? I like this. I like the liberal use of BNR for Blitz. Yeah, that's basically all I have to say. Blitz is a pretty touchy format. I personally really like Blitz. I know some pro players don't. I think it's a lot of fun. I like the low health totals. I like that it's explosive. You can get more games in. I really like that kind of nature, right? But I understand why some people don't like it. And I like that its existence is not making Classic Constructed any worse. So they're happy to just be like, yeah, we'll just ban it in Blitz. Yeah. All right, Ultimate Pit Fight. The following changes are effective as of October 7th. Yorick, Weaver of Tales is banned. In official events only. This was kind of already what people were doing, right? No one was actually playing Yorick in official events, or a lot of people holding events were like, yeah, you can't play with Yorick anyway. So this is something that people do anyway. So I think this is yeah, sure, it's a thing, but it's kind of them just being like, yeah, it's official now. You can't play Yorick in official events. And also, let's have some more official UPF events. That would be sweet. So I think this is good ahead of Worlds, because I'm sure there's going to be some UPF events at Worlds. So just having this out there right now, being like, no, you can't play Yorick at the events at Worlds. Yeah. The intention of Yorick is to embody the spirit of people coming together over a shared love of playing great games. And it's been wonderful to see many photos on social media of rainbow-colored towers of cards in the center of the table, surrounded by happy, laughing faces. We're doing this at Worlds, by the way. Me, as some other friends, we're going to play some UPF at Worlds. My Yorick deck is going to have an Ave Ste. It's going to have a Heart of Fiendel. I'm going to stock it up with really nice stuff, and we're going to just jam that. We're just going to jam it together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm actually legit looking forward to it. These occasions are happening organically and typically in private settings, where the social contract of group consensus makes Yorick work the way it's supposed to. However, when receiving feedback from the judge community that Yorick has been problematic in official UPF events, I can't imagine like allowing this at official events. That's crazy. Such as those run alongside the Pro Tour, Worlds, and some callings where it can be difficult to moderate whether Yorick is welcome or not, and sitting this one out isn't an option when you need to brawl your way through your pod to claim a seat at the final table. For this reason, Yorick Weird Tales is banned at official UPF events, but we encourage play groups to continue to enjoy Yorick for social play. Card Legality policy update. This is spicy. I saw this one, and this is spicy. Basically, they're making it so now you can only play Classic Constructed heroes in Classic Constructed, like only adult heroes in Classic Constructed, and you can only play young heroes in Blitz, which makes sense. Like anyway, like a lot of people I think would assume that's how it is anyway, but no, you could, before this announcement, play young heroes in Classic Constructed, and we saw people do that. We saw someone run hot with a Prism at the New Zealand National Championship, and they won like a bunch, like at least 7 games, which is insane, in a Classic Constructed format, playing it with a young hero. So like half the life. Yeah, so the card legality policy has been updated to align with how Living Legend system is intended to support Classic Constructed and Blitz by being explicit in that Classic Constructed is the format for adult heroes and Blitz is the format for young heroes. Previously, although significantly disadvantaged, young heroes were technically legal to play in Classic Constructed. On at least one occasion, this has resulted in a young hero earning Living Legend points from a Classic Constructed tournament and therefore becoming closer to attaining LL status and no longer being legal in the Blitz format. Yeah, that also doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like playing in a CC tournament with a young hero and then getting points that actually go towards Blitz is a little wonky. This update also future-proofs the possibility of obscure heroes like Shiana that aren't designed or developed with Classic Constructed in mind from unexpectedly becoming problematic in Classic Constructed. Kind of like their same philosophy here with like Blitz, right? They can, build around CC without having to really worry about Blitz. Same kind of deal here. So in summary, Classic Constructed adult heroes only, Blitz young heroes only. The next banned and suspended announcement, November 9th, right after Worlds. There's nothing in here about Commoner, and I'll probably talk about that in the future. Yeah, Commoner, let me see. There's definitely nothing else here about Commoner, yeah. Yeah, nothing here about Commoner. There's this errata bulletin, but nothing here about Commoner. I'll say my like two cents about Commoner, and we also put together like a little Commoner advisory group with me and some other people who are like really into Commoner, like Smithel, who runs the Commoner League, and we chatted about Commoner and how the place of Commoner. We think Commoner is in a really good spot right now, with the exception of maybe Stubby Hammers. It might be too strong. It's really good. I'm on the fence personally. I think it's like could go either way. It is really good, but is it so much better than the next best thing that makes it ban worthy? It might be. It actually might be. So I know a lot of folks advocate for the banning of Stubby Hammers and Commoner. Personally, I'm kind of in the middle. I can give or take. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think anyone would be surprised if it got banned. So there's that. Perhaps we'll see something about Commoner in the future. And then let's talk about this errata bulletin number 5 real quick. How long have we been recording this? Only like 18 minutes. We're not that long. Not that long. We'll talk about this errata. There's some interesting stuff going on in this errata bulletin, so we will talk about that. Okay, so errata bulletin number 5. After a thorough review of existing card text following the publication of Comprehensive Rules 2.0, we've identified some areas which require improvement for consistency and comprehension. I think the most important parts about these are the functional errata here. These are going to actually change how the game functions. So we're going to talk about these more than the non-functional errata, because there's a bunch of non-functional errata that the cards basically just do the same thing, but this just makes it words it in such a way that it's more obvious for a lot of these, like Forked Lightning here. Like the new Forked Lightning just says, deal 2 arcane damage to 2 target heroes. You may target the same hero twice. You could already do that, but I think a lot of people were confused about it doesn't say that you can do it, doesn't say you can't do it. It's like a weird case. Like not many cards are able to do this kind of thing, and so just wording it this way, it just makes it clear that it does what it does, and people already knew what it does. And that's true for all these. There's like same with the mentors. There's some non-functional errata for mentors, as well as replication and replacement effects syntax. We're not going to go into that. You can definitely check it out and go into this if you'd like, but I don't think it's that interesting because it's just the cards still do what they do. What's more interesting are the cards that don't do what they used to do. Okay, so we consider functional errata as a change of the text of a card or token that fundamentally changes any rulings about interactions within the game. We do not consider errata that update the card text to use new syntax as a functional errata if this is not the case. With the continuous increase of the total card pool for players, we recognize that finding the correct, most up-to-date card text for any card is becoming more difficult, and we plan to address this in the future. Stay tuned for future developments in this area. Yeah, I would love to see the new history packs, as they come out, have this functional errata on the cards. And also the non-functional errata too. I'd like all of this to be on subsequent printings of the cards, and I think that might be what they're alluding to here. It makes a lot of sense. So, following changes are effective immediately. Functional errata, rune chant, and quicken trigger, on play and activation, an attack. I said that weird. Rune chant and quicken trigger on play and activation of an attack. So they trigger both when you play and when you activate an attack. And I think that's well, we'll talk about it here. So Rune Chant and Quicken tokens make up a fundamental part of Flesh and Blood. Rune Chant tokens being a core design element of the Rune Blade class, and Quicken tokens being a staple element generated by many generic cards, with more to come. The Monarch core set introduced a key interaction that was initially overlooked, where targeting with an aura with Spectra. Oh, Spectra is a mess. with an attack action card would trigger these tokens, but not if you targeted them with a weapon. There are some, yeah, I remember hearing about this. There's some weird BS with that. There are some other minor interactions involving trigger order and conditions for other cards, but ultimately, the inconsistency between attack action cards and weapon attacks for these tokens has been an issue for new and old players alike to comprehend and apply correctly. Yeah, I've seen this doing like coverage at events, and playing myself. It's wonky. After much internal deliberation, we have decided to unify the trigger timing for both of these cards, and we'll be reprinting them in upcoming sets. Okay, so it says, let's just look at it here. When you play an attack action card or activate a weapon attack, so that's the actual fundamental change here. Destroy Rune Chant and deal 1 arcane damage to target opposing hero. Let's take a look at Quicken here. I love how it's in the white border. When you play an attack action card or activate a weapon attack, destroy Quicken, and the attack gains Go again. Perfect. So it just works whenever you play an attack action card or whenever you attack with a weapon. That makes sense. Like, it makes it so much cleaner and more easier for new people to understand, and like veterans like me to understand too. So I really, really like this change. The other thing was just a mess. So this is like perfect, right? I think this is a no-brainer change. Zephyr Needle, Phantasmal Footsteps, first trigger when defending, not when the combat chain closes. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So in a previous back alley oracle, that detailed the changes to cards for the Comprehensive Rules 2.0 update, we noted that Zephyr Needle and Phantasmal Footsteps would follow the same trigger syntax as cards with Battle Worn, Blade Break, etc. However, due to some fundamental rules around combat, this leads to some undesirable interactions. For example, under the previous text, your Zephyr Needle was defended by Carrion Husk. You would choose to resolve Carrion Husk's defend trigger first, preventing Zephyr Needle from being destroyed because it's no longer being defended by a card. Ah, I gotcha. With greater than Zephyr Needle's power, with defense greater than Zephyr Needle's power. As such, this change will be reversed to its original intention. So it would still get destroyed, like your Zephyr Needle would still get destroyed. We have decided to update Zephyr Needle and Phantasmal Footsteps syntax to ensure that these undesirable and unintuitive interactions do not occur. Zephyr Needle and Phantasmal Footsteps triggered effects now trigger with a state-based condition. If the state is met at any given point, the effect will trigger. That makes a ton of sense. And create a delayed triggered effect that destroys the card when the combat chain closes. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, I really like this. Yeah, so basically, I love both of these changes. It basically makes the cards do what you think they do. So the new Zephyr Needle reads, once per turn action, attack, go again. When Zephyr Needle is defended by a card with greater defense than Zephyr Needle's attack, destroy it when the combat chain closes. And then take a look at the footsteps here. Once per turn, when an illusionist attack action card you control is destroyed, you may pay 1. If you do, gain an action point. The part that matters is here at the bottom. When Phantasmal Footsteps is defending a non-illusionist attack with 6 or more attack, destroy it when the combat chain closes. Yeah, so like if that attack or defense, in the case of Zephyr Needle, ever gets to that point, then you have this delayed state-based action that triggers at the end of the combat chain. Cool. I dig it. Duration of Blossoming Spellblade effect. Yeah, this is a weird one. Okay, so originally, Blossoming Spellblade had an ambiguous element to its effect that was ruled to last for the rest of the game. Specifically, if the card that was banished is played, it does not go to the graveyard that turn. Players would have to continuously track that card throughout the game, so that if it were put into the graveyard eventually, it would be banished. Yeah, so it had like this permanent like thing that if it had been in the graveyard, it'd be banished. While there are a few real cases where this would be applicable, example, Channel Mount Heroic, Energy Potion, etc., it was not originally designed to do so. And the burden on the players to track this information throughout the game is unreasonable without additional aids. As such, Blossoming Spellblade has been given a functional errata to correct this interaction. If Blossoming Spellblade was fused, it gains... let's just read it. If it was fused, it gains whenever this deals damage to an opposing hero, you may banish a non-attack action card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play it this turn as though it were an instant, and if it be put into your graveyard this turn, banish it. Yeah, so like a card that would stick around like an Energy Potion or something, you could just not banish it. But now it says like you could not activate its ability, put it into the graveyard, and it would still, you just have to keep track of whenever it would be put into the graveyard, it could banish. But now it just says until end of turn. So yeah, that makes sense. When you attack with Blossoming Spellblade, if it's fused, do 1 arcane banish to target. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, this is another thing that just, it makes sense, it makes things clean. I love errata like this. It's not like errata for balancing reasons, it's errata for clarity reasons, and it makes the cards do what you already think they do. So, that's great. Well, except for Blossoming Spellblade, which was just kind of annoying. Putting a card on the bottom of its owner's deck. In a retrospective review, we have found that the effects that specify that they returned to your deck may cause issues with future design spaces and led cards owned by another player ending up in your deck. Okay. Interesting. Okay. To address this problem, we've decided to universally errata mentions of your deck that would lead to those situations. Cards that you do not own should not end up in any of your zones that are not in the arena, including deck, banish, graveyard, hand, and arsenal. Interesting. So there's going to be cards that let you steal stuff. This is what this is telling me. Oh, this is some spicy bit. This means that there might be cards that let you steal stuff in the future, maybe even in Dynasty. Are we going to get an assassin class that lets you steal things? Oh, that's so cool. Because what it's basically saying is that combined with other cards that let you put stuff on the bottom of your deck, if you were able to steal one of your opponent's things and somehow put it on the bottom of your deck, like, they don't want you to be able to do that, right? It wants to go to your opponent's deck instead. So for example, cognition nodes. If there are no steam counters on cognition nodes, put a steam counter on it, go again. Once per turn attack reaction, remove a steam counter from cognition nodes. Target attack action card gains when this hits, put it on the bottom of its owner's deck. So it's now owner's deck instead of your deck. That's the key difference here, because it used to say at the bottom of your deck. So like if you were able to steal a card from your opponent's hand, for example, and then activate cognition nodes, right, to put the attack action on the bottom of your deck, but it's your opponent's card, then you enter these weird situations, right? Bottom of its owner's deck, owner's deck, owner's deck. Yeah, all of this makes a lot of sense. I think this is more spicy that it alludes to something possible in the future where you can steal your opponent's cards. And then we're not gonna talk about the non-functional errata. So if you stick around to the end here, I think this is actually like big. This is probably some of the most exciting parts, like hinting at stuff to come, like stealing your opponent's cards. Ooh, that's spicy. I think it might hint at some sort of like thief or assassin class. Oh man, a rogue, LSS rogue. Oh, I don't actually know anything about Dynasty yet, like other than what you all know. Anyway, so yeah, that's the that's the BNR. I'm going to double check back on the announcement to see if they've added anything to Commoner. I don't see anything about Commoner. Okay, well, yep, that's that. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I think this was a little bit spicier than I anticipated. Like, I thought it was just be like it's just some, you know, nothing's changing or whatever. But I think Blitz is going to be significantly shaken up. I think we are maybe going to see some really spicy stuff in Dynasty. Like I said, I think some of those errata changes hint at some really cool stuff like stealing cards. Oh, I'm excited. I'm really excited. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. We'll see you next time.